as I mentioned in the last show, I'm going to attempt to talk about a very nuanced discussion of the LGBT community. And basically what I want to do is walk you through step by step a conversation I had that led to a very teachable moment. And I hope that we can all share in that teachable moment. So this conversation was about the It Gets Better campaign. And for those of you who don't know, this is the campaign for anybody to make a video encouraging gay youth who are struggling with life in general for the whole variety of reasons there are for gay teens in America to be having a hard time, to encourage them to hang in there because it gets better. That's the whole idea. It was a phenomenally successful campaign. It went all the way up to Obama making a video, and it's essentially universally thought of as a good and successful thing. So this conversation was between myself and the intern for this show, actually, Lauren, who happens to be a lesbian. And so she gives me the inside scoop on the LGBT community from time to time. And so we were having a discussion, and the It Gets Better campaign came up. So now I want you to focus on your own personal reaction to what I'm about to tell you, that what happened in this conversation, because within those reactions of yours, and I want to hear from you to get your opinions on this, within those reactions is the lesson to be learned, I think. So, she was speaking to me, very casually, two friends talking, and she mentioned kind of offhandedly that the It Gets Better campaign, it is thought of by many in the LGBT community to be flawed, to not be nearly good enough, and that a new campaign has sprung up to try to correct the wrongs of the It Gets Better campaign. Now think about how you're reacting to that. And I'm going to tell you how I reacted. Long before I knew why I was reacting this way, I knew that the way I was feeling was angry. Like frustrated and angry, and I don't even know what else. But it did not take long. I mean, I started raising my voice. I started getting, frustrated, and the conversation almost got to the point of being heated. And, I came to realize later that as a liberal, I totally believe in the idea that nothing is ever good enough. You should never discourage anyone from trying to make something better, because everything can always be made better. That is kind of the premise of liberalism, is we always want to move forward. No matter how good things get, you can always make it better. And so that's like at the foundation of my belief system. But when I was told that there are people who are like, oh yeah, the It Gets Better campaign, bullshit. What I was thinking, at least in the back of my head, was like, oh, come on. If that can't be considered good, what can be? And so it was a sense of frustration with whoever, she didn't say, it's just general. Whoever these people are who didn't think that campaign was a good thing, then what are they thinking? And so that was my initial reaction. And then we discussed further and got more into depth, and there was discussion, and this is like a 45-minute conversation that I'm trying to condense into 2 or 3 minutes. But there was a discussion about when you're speaking within your own community, you can take shortcuts in the conversation because it is known to those within the community what you're talking about, and there isn't the same chance for misinterpretation. And so she was speaking to me as a friend as casually as she would speak to someone within the community itself. So I'm obviously an LGBT ally, but not really like super in the know. So she talked to me the same way she would talk to them, and was like, oh yeah, like how the It Gets Better campaign, like it didn't go far enough. And I didn't know that. I hadn't heard that. And I reacted by being frustrated because it was something that I thought it was great. I really, I hope I promoted it on the show, although I can't remember if I did. But, it was the sort of thing that everyone could feel good about. And so when something like that everyone could feel good about gets kind of spit on, well, that sucks. But it turns out that that was a little bit of a misinterpretation because she had taken one of those shortcuts that I wasn't quite privy to. So the idea is that essentially in the LGBT community, as best as I know, I'm sure I'll be corrected, is that the It Gets Better campaign is a piece of the puzzle. It's a start, but it has this underlying message of if we all just wait, things will get better. And when you phrase it like that, you're like, oh, wait, well, that's clearly not right, because you can't just wait for things to get better. You have to make them better. Hence, the program that she was telling me about that is, hoping to fill the gaps where the It Gets Better campaign left off is the Make It Better campaign. So all of a sudden, I start feeling better about it. And I say, you know what? If you had just phrased it a little bit differently when you started telling me about it, and you said, there are many in the LGBT community who recognize the It Gets Better campaign as a good first step, but that doesn't quite go far enough. And so we're working on a new project that we want to take to the next step, and I think you'll be excited about it. That would do the exact opposite of frustrate me. No part of me would think, oh God, we did one good thing and now we have to do another good thing. Like, no, not at all. Of course, I'm always going to be in favor of moving forward, taking the next step, making things even better. And so in that kind of instance, we had this realization, or, I had this realization because it was all inside my own head. And then I shared with her, and now I'm sharing with you, that it made a profound difference in how I was told about the exact same thing. It was two completely different ways to say the exact same thing. And so I want everyone to hopefully take this to heart and recognize that when speaking to people outside of your own community, it is unreasonable to expect people outside of your own community, even if they're allies of yours, they want to help and they want to understand, it is unreasonable to expect them to understand. And therefore, you just have to be careful with the shortcuts you use. And frankly, I think that I may have just stumbled on something that like campaign political organizers, activist organizers have known for decades, is that you have to give people wins. And, as I sit here and I'm talking, I'm actually having flashbacks to my old job at the nonprofit where that is, we've had these conversations before and it's all tying together for me now. You can't have allies who are working for you and volunteering for your campaign without giving them wins. If you keep telling them that we failed, therefore we need to try harder, we failed, therefore we need to try harder, people will get discouraged and disgruntled and irritated with the whole project, and you're going to lose them. But if you can show them, we've won, and now we're pushing further. We did a good job, but it's not far enough. And but you can give solid wins every once in a while, like the It Gets Better project, and say like, that was a solid win we had, and now we're going to build on that. That pumps people up, and just by phrasing it a little bit wrong, there was that moment where instead of being pumped up, I was frustrated. And obviously that's not what she intended or expected at all. She was taken completely by surprise at my reaction at first, and as was I. but as we talked through it and worked through it, we kind of learned this lesson together, which I found fascinating, and said during that conversation, I think I just found a good commentary for the show. And she said, oh, well, Jesus, be careful with that, because if you say it wrong, then you're going to probably offend a whole lot of people without even knowing it, because you don't want to give the impression that you're discouraging people in the LGBT community from pushing their issue further and further and further. And so hopefully I've succeeded in not offending those people.